Good morning. I hope you guys are doing well. We're going to start for the first 2 weeks our class online, research method in food and nutrition. Remember, it's a graduate class for our students here at Kim University in the Department of Food and Nutrition. So, I told you guys, for the next 2 weeks, I will be delivering the material to you through my YouTube channel. But prior to that, I will be sending you some information, like the lecture, the PPT lectures will be sent to you a week before we actually meet online, which means that you're going to have the time to read, to review the material, and also send me some questions. And if we have a chance to have an online session, a live session, we can do it as well. As you know, presently in Daegu, we are facing, these pandemic, coronavirus, and that is one of the reasons we're having these sessions online for now. And hopefully we're going to meet you guys by the end of this month of March, and we can have a more and more interesting approach. So today, what I'm going to do, a very short session, I will just be presenting to you the syllabus, what we're going to be looking at during our 15, 16 weeks together. Okay, so what do we have here? So I just want to make sure that my system is all right. So what do we have here? The course information, as I told you guys, it's a research method in food and nutrition. However, I will be focusing on public health nutrition, on population health research. Yes, we'll talk about the food intake. We will have 2 chapters on that section, focusing more on the food, on the public health and nutrition. So, as I said before, it's a graduate class. We'll be meeting technically, every Tuesday from 6 to 8:40 p.m. I will often finish a little bit earlier than that. What is important here on the slide that you have in front of you is you have my office phone number. Some of you have my cell phone number. I think I will give it to you on the CTL system. My 2 emails are here. You have the Kim University email here, and you have my Yahoo email B_. It doesn't really show well. Obiang@yahoo.com. Oftentimes, if you send me an email on Yahoo, I'm able to answer a little bit faster because I receive the notification on my phone. But some of you will have access to my cell phone number, so you can reach to me as well. Another thing that we can do is to create a Kakao group that will allow us to have some form of discussions and maybe things that were not clear during my presentation online. All right. So when can you meet me? Like I said, I often say that to you guys. I have an open door policy. If you see the light on my office, you can come anytime. But for the next 2 weeks, I won't be in my office. So we just have to communicate electronically. I will be going to university once in a while just to pick up a book or something like that. But I won't be necessarily available to meet for the first 2 week one-on-one. But we have a different way to do it. We can have these online Zoom meetings where we can actually see each other and share information, share files with you, and I think it's a great system. So when I will see you guys again, that will be in room 303, Shutter Call. All right. So then we'll be meeting there. Hopefully, the coronavirus scare will be way behind us. All right. So just some little things to probably be aware of now. The outline. I'll jump ahead of myself here. The objective of the class. All right. The course covers understanding of the really basic concepts of research techniques that are commonly applied to food and nutrition area, food industry, food service, and nutrition. But as I stated earlier, I will be focusing on population research methodologies. Some of you know I do most of my research on acculturation and health. So, acculturation is what we talk about adaptation, the change of culture. Is there any relationship between that adaptation and the health of the minorities? All right. So then we look at how we do some of these investigations. What we look at as well, as far as food is concerned, we look at dietary acculturation, right? So we are changing our food habits. When these people are changing their food habits, do we have any consequence, any health implication when they change the way they actually eat? So this is actually very important things that we're going to cover. How do we go through statistical analysis of these elements and try to see if there are some correlation? But before we actually start going to population research, nutrition research methodologies, one thing that is very important for you guys that are into the master and PhD program is to actually know the fundamental of manuscript writing. All right, how do we write a paper? And we'll do some of the practice early. And one of the first one will actually be how do we write our abstract. All right. Oftentimes you want to go to a conference, you just have the data, so you send your abstract, and the reviewers will look at it and they will see if whatever you put on resonate with what they are looking for. If it makes sense, is it innovative? Is it something that is interesting? Okay, so we'll be looking at that. I will give more details in a few minutes. All right. So now the rules, guys, are very important. You are expected to attend all classes and to be punctual in both attending class and completing any assigned task. The assigned task here are mainly the abstract reading. The abstract, you need to write an abstract. All right, so I will be giving you some papers to read, and then you have to write your own abstract that is different than what the author actually write. Your understanding of the paper is actually very important. But the first 2 weeks attendance, will do it through the electronic system, the CTL system that we have here, that will allow us to actually see if you are present or not. If you miss a class without any viable reason, usually you lose 1%. So we'll come back about the grading system in a minute, but this should not be actually what scares you into that class. It's going to be a great time. So really, there is no reason to really worry about that part. Just be on time. Hopefully, you don't come 15 minutes. I'm usually there on time. And the viable reasons that the university usually look at are usually like medical conditions, or circumstances that are beyond you, right? Somebody can have an accident or health issue, a problem in the family. So you just need to send me a message, and we'll solve that very quickly. All right. So for submission of assignments, as I mentioned, late assignment, will be penalized. Usually we have a class, for example, like today for 2 weeks, and the following week you don't have a class, so that's the time for you to go through the paper and write your summary. And it's very important that when you will finally meet, you bring all required material to class, mostly the handouts that I will be sending to the CTL system. All right. So, as you guys know, this class is in English. I sometimes like to remind that I actually had a case a semester ago where a student told me that she thought that the class was actually in Korean. All right, so the class will be in English for the semester. So the main reference book that I'm using for this class, I use different references, but the main one is actually Nutrition Research Methodology. If you want to get that book, it's up to you, but it's not mandatory. I'll just take some of the examples there. The evaluation system here, attendance is a lot of point, 20% of attendance here. The assignments are 20%. The assignments, like I mentioned, will be related to your the abstract writing, just a summary of what you wrote. The presentation, will have only one presentation. I used to ask 2 or 3 presentations. This time we only have one presentation. 60% of your final grade. So it's very important that you prepare it. I will give more details on the next slide. All right. Okay. So what are we going to look at this semester? All right. So the first week is today. All right. The first week is today. We only meet once a week. All right. So today we just go through the syllabus like I'm doing right now. And if you have some questions, send them our way. And this first week we don't have any formal lecture. The second week, overview of nutritional research that will just show us the different steps in terms of nutritional research, the different steps that researchers usually follow when they do the investigation. All right. The third week, a very important time, I hope you don't miss that session, is manuscript preparation, writing an abstract. How do you write a manuscript? And the reason I put this first is because I want to make sure that when we now go through the semester, when you give your assignment, you know how to write an abstract. All right. So you have the different stage, the different parts of the abstract, and you're really comfortable writing an abstract. Of course, you will get better and better the more practice you get into it. And for people that are, for example, under my supervision, and some of you guys know, you need to write a paper to graduate. I think it's very important to actually start developing these skills now of paper writing. So manuscript preparation, it's a very, very important class that I hope you won't be missing. So please, maybe by that time we'll be in the classroom. So if the class is recorded, okay, fine. Then you have an opportunity to just watch it over again. But if the class is actually done in a physical classroom, not recorded, and you miss the class, it may not be the best thing for you at this time. All right. So week 4, reading and abstract writing. All right. So you have by week 3, when we finish this chapter, you will have 1 full week to read a paper and to summarize that paper. All right. Writing the abstract. So this week here, it's your time of personal study, personal training, based on what we have learned in class. All right. And the following week, we'll see the chapters on study design, population-based study, and before the class, it will be important that you give me your assignment, all right, your abstract. We can go over it, and I will have a time to correct it and give you feedbacks in terms of how did you do the part that you need to improve, the part that you did well. So remember, once again, on the third week, manuscript preparation is a very critical time, very critical week that I hope nobody will afford to miss. All right. Study design, population-based studies. How do we investigate the populations and some of the things that are required, like RB, International Review Boards, the application we need to do, making sure that, for example, we have to be careful about the population that we are studying. Are we studying vulnerable populations? What vulnerable populations? The example that comes to mind, we talk about, for example, pregnant women, all right? These are vulnerable population. We talk about children. These are vulnerable population. And sometimes minority groups, depending of where they are. So we're going to look at some of the things and the process that are required to actually start the study, all right? So this is actually very, very important. So on the 6th week, consideration for including different population groups in nutritional studies, the nutritional research. That's what I alluded to. What are the considerations for including, for example, pregnant women? What are the considerations if we want to work with minors? We talk about children, right? People who are 8, 9, 10 years old, teenagers. Okay, permissions that we need. We have the consent of the parents and some of these aspects. For example, people who have mental health issues. So all these elements are very important. So we need to have all these considerations in place before we actually start our study. All right, guys. On the 7th week, here again, reading and abstract writing again, no class. That's a time for you to study. You will receive a paper. I will probably give you a paper on week 5 or 6 that you need to read. And if you have another paper that is on public health and nutrition that you present to me, and I'm okay with it, yeah, you can read and summarize it. Write your own abstract, okay? So we can go from there, all right? Week 8, method to determine dietary intake, all right? This is actually very, very important. And we're going to look at the ABCD. We talk about nutrition assessment, all right? ABCD, anthropometric. We talk about anthropometric measurements. You guys remember we talk about body mass index. We take the height of people, we talk their weight, and we try to measure the level of obesity. We also look at different other measures, such as height to weight ratio, which is probably a better indication these days. All right. So A, B, C, D, E, anthropometric. B, biochemical testing. All right. So, cases where I need to take blood samples. We want to measure, for example, glucose level in people's blood. C, for clinical testing, look at physical evidences of maybe nutrient deficiencies. All right. And D, that's the part that we will look at. D, for the dietary assessment. We ask, for example, we look at food frequency. How often do you eat rice? How often do you eat bread in a week? All right. Sometimes that frequency is sometimes very complicated in terms of getting like accurate information. So what I usually suggest is to go with the 24-hour recall. The 24-hour recall is we ask people what did you eat yesterday? Okay, what did you eat yesterday? Oftentimes, people will remember what they ate yesterday. All right, so some of these elements are important, and based on what people eat, we're able to also look at if there is a relationship between what they eat and the health outcome. All right, and by what they eat, we mean everything, including snack, whatever they drink, and that may give us an idea about their food habits. And also, we can have other type of measurements as well. For example, measuring their blood pressure. Is there a relationship between what they eat and the blood pressure? So some of these elements are what we look at when we do these. We look at these different research methodology in nutrition and health. All right. So very important. And based on that, we can determine, as you know, the what we call the healthy index. So we look at what people eat, and we look at the scale, the table that we have, and we see if people actually eat according to the recommendation that are done here. For example, in our case in Korea, all right. So we look at the Korean Healthy Eating Index. Korean Healthy Eating Index. So we also look at the one that is probably more familiar with the Canadian Healthy Index and the American Eating Index. They are not very different. They are not very different. You will only see, like, in some parts, for example, in the Korean one, uh, we eat a lot of kimchi here, so we want to make sure that people are actually eating all the vegetables other than kimchi. All right. Last semester we had a class on planning a healthy diet. So based on that, we're able to actually see if what people eat is actually according to the Korean eating healthy index, right? According to the healthy eating index. So we look at some of these elements there. Chapter 9 will be exam week at Kemio University. So it might be actually, guys, it might be on 7 week, the 8 week, or the 9 week. Either way, it's usually on the 8 week that we have exams. You guys don't have an exam, so usually during that week we don't have a class. So that will be another opportunity for you guys to just go through the material, ask questions, and just get on the habit of reading. All right, so just go through that. Now, on the 10 week, we look at method of data analysis. In my case, I mostly use SPSS. How we analyze data and different programs that exist in terms of data analysis. You collect the data. How do you analyze them? Do we have a relationship? Is there a correlation with these data? Okay, and if there's a strong correlation, okay, maybe a good idea to actually write a paper on it. So we look at how we do data analysis and actually go from there. It just came to mind that I forgot to put another reference book on statistical analysis. I give you that reference. It's a good book that you may need to take a look at in terms of analyzing your data. And I also encourage you to have a grip of SPSS. It's actually free for you guys on campus. You can use it. You have to be there every day and just see how we go through it. The 11th week, reading and abstract writing again. That will be another paper that I will be giving to you guys for reading. The last one, you can see that we have here 1, 2, 3. All right. So the 12-week methods investigating food-related behavior. All right. We're talking about food habit. For those who took that class with me, we understand that For example, when we talk about immigrants, food habit, probably the most difficult thing to change. When people go from one country to another one, they may change their dressing style, the way they talk, and everything. But it comes to a time where they need to change the way they eat, changing their food habits. And food habit, very difficult to change, but is actually a big factor in health outcome. All right. So when we talk about the method here in determining dietary intake, we are also associated with method investigating food-related behavior. So when I'm looking at it, it's possible that we go through this chapter before we go through the method of data analysis, just to finish that part related to food, the same way we did with the population studies. Then we go with the food. So it's possible that I change the order, right, of the chapters that we're going to cover. Either way, a week before we have class, you will receive the notes on the CTL system. You just have to go to my page and click, and then you can download the information, the PPT, the file, bring it to class with your notes on it. All right. On the 13th week, we look at method for assessing nutritional status and body composition. All right, that will be technically our last chapter. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to actually go through it. A very important one as well. I also have a chapter normally on energy requirement. Hopefully won't have a lot of problems to cover some of these parts. So on this one, we probably also look at energy requirement, energy expenditure. Okay. The fourth week here, presentation preparation. All right. So now you have this week to, you choose any article on public health and nutrition. All right. What I usually do is you send me the article ahead of time. If I'm okay with it, okay, you can choose one or two, and then in class you'll come and present. Make your presentation based on that article. You bring what the article is talking about, your critique. You look at the methodology. That will be the key part. All right. You look at the methodology. Is it clear? Remember that in the methodology, we want to be able to replicate the experiment. We want to make sure that we can actually do the same experiment. So we want the methodology to be clear, to be accepted, and so that's the part where I will give the most point, your critique, your opinion on the methodology. All right. Of course, you understand the paper is what it's all about. These are the variables that were used. These are this is the outcome or the different outcomes that we have on the paper. Fine. But once again, a critique of the methodology will be the key element here. All right. All right. So now on the fifth week, that will be your presentation day. All right. After your presentation, not a long one, 10 minutes is enough. All right. Don't have to kill yourself. Just make things very, very clear. If it's a bit longer, that's fine. But hopefully not less than 10 minutes, right? So if 10, 15 minutes is okay, but it doesn't have to go to 20 minutes and more. Really, just want to make sure that you really understand the paper and you were able to actually do the experiment as well. And after this presentation, as usual, we have our traditional goodbye dinner. Of course, I will be paying for it. So you guys can choose a nice restaurant, not too expensive. And we go from there. I think we're going to have a very great time going through this. This is the first time I'm actually having the opportunity to teach this course. I'm very excited. I look at the number of students we have in the class. The number is actually bigger than what I was expected. So this is going to be great. You have all my information with you. Don't hesitate to contact me anytime. I will be available. So feel free, and hoping that you are excited as I am. This is the best opportunity for you guys to learn as much as you can. So send me your questions, contact me by email or through my cell phone. I'll be available for you guys. So let's go through it. So I'm just going to stop here for today, and I will update you on the first chapter of Obiang Nutritional Research next week. Once once we are done. All right. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Just let us stay strong with what's going on in our beautiful city, Daegu.